Salutations all, this is Juiciest Slice, here to wax poetic about the finer, dare I say weirder, points of romance and heartbreak. Well, mostly heartbreak. Love can be splendid, for sure, but focused wrong can also lead to pain, in particular when unrequited.
You won't be needing this!
Not having it with the wrong person, or losing it when it felt right, can feel like getting a blade stabbed right into your vascular muscle. Love can even lead to feeling like getting your heart ripped right out of your chest. Like that. But if it's on you, if you abandon your lover, don't think you can come crawling back and they'll just fall right back into your arms without consequences, especially if they've moved on with a new love.
Boy, that's a sticky one.
That's what she said. Funnily, this movie would maybe be more appropriate for Father's Day, because a lot of the plot ultimately rests on daddy issues.
I don't even know how to judge that.
This brings me to an early variant in the booming slasher subgenre, 1981's Exercise in the Rough Stuff, pickaxe style, My Bloody Valentine. Thank you to anyone taking the time to check this out. I deeply appreciate it. So what do you get when you pit some working class fellows and the women in their lives against a killer in full miner gear out for revenge, or maybe something else? In more recent years you get My Bloody Valentine 3D, which played fast and loose with the narrative and emerged as a fairly good remake, notably dusting off the legendary Tom Atkins, something for which I am enormously grateful. But if you look back to the early halcyon days of the initial wave of slashers, when all you needed was the slice and dice golden ratio, namely a crime in the past, a holiday or event, a group of young people, a mask, and a distinct weapon, to paint by numbers your own slasher flick, you get the memorably brutal My Bloody Valentine. It's not exactly Shakespeare, but it's definitely a tragedy of ponderous if prosaic proportions, because love can be seismic, even if much of life can be workaday. Ably directed by George Mihalka, from a screenplay by John Beard, and produced by John Dunning, Andre Link, and Stephen Miller, the film stars the sturdy actor, the late Paul Kelman,
Let's get on my nose. I'll give it that.
as embittered and tumultuous bad boy T.J. Hanniger, the vivacious actress Lori Hallier,
I just want to put on some music, okay?
as the romantically torn Sarah Mercer, durable actor and animator Neil Affleck,
Sometimes you want to be a total shooter, you gotta know the mind.
as insecure and temperamental batter boy Axel Palmer, actor and musician Don Iron Buffalo Franks,
Oh no, don't look at me.
as our useless authority Chief Newbie, the enduring actress Patricia Hamilton,
I might as well go too. All of this will have to be rewashed.
as big-hearted Mabel Osborne, capable Larry Reynolds,
I'll see you kids later.
as harried Mayor Hanniger, TJ's father, a veteran of several horror films, Jack Van Evera.
Beware of what you make fun of, you little asshole.
Fine, I will. As Happy, that nickname might be ironic, the shrewd bartender. He once beat the stomach in a hot dog eating contest, Keith Knight,
Hi, babe. How are ya?
Fine.
Good to see ya.
as the wise and opulent Hollis, Canadian TV star Cynthia Dale, as Smoke Show Patty. I might be partial to her because she's with the chubby guy. A hoot if there ever was one, Elf Humphreys,
Hi, guy.
as hysterical jokester Howard Landers. She was also in Happy Birthday to Me, another good slasher, Gina Dick,
Howard, stay away from me.
as Gretchen. She was only ever in this, Terry Waterland,
I did, you gorgeous slab of female flesh.
as Harriet Sweet Harriet, actor Thomas Kovacs,
Get lost, Axel.
as Mike Stavinsky, New York-based advertiser Rob Steen,
Gonna be a hot time on Saturday night.
as John. She played a prostitute in Amityville Clown House, a classic if there ever was one, Helene Udy, as desirable Sylvia, Producer Carl Marot
Especially you. This is my date, Chief.
as Dave, and the underrated Peter Cowper as Harry Warden / the Miner. The film opens with a voluptuous blonde escorting a gentleman caller decked out in full miner gear into the Stygian mine, where her frisky overtures lead to Mr. Roughstuff claiming her heart. From this terrific opening kill, we're introduced to a group of rowdy miners who shower communally and then skidoo into town. And catch up with the ladies in their lives who are decorating a hall for Valentine's Day.
Casanova is here!
Sarah is noticeably with Axel, while peevish TJ is noticeably alone. A bit of a glowering wallflower, Sarah seems to have sympathy for him.
Anything I should know?
No, of course not.
TJ is her ex that she's in some ways not entirely over, a situation that inspires insecurity in Axel.
Yes, actually, it's very awkward. Is that not clear?
This love triangle is the crux of the film, and coincides with the reinstatement after a 20-year hiatus of the town's Valentine's dance. Why the long ban? It comes down to a madman's threat. Bucolic and picturesque Valentine's Bluff has a tragic event in the past that I'll get to shortly. TJ cuts out as his father and Mabel arrive, to which Axel remarks,
I don't think he likes being back in the mine very much.
and the mayor replies,
It's not my fault he couldn't make it on his own. But now that he's back here, he's my son and he's working in the mine.
So it amounts to that TJ's alienation is because he followed his wanderlust, and his itchy feet carried him away only to blow it, forcing him to return home in defeat, explaining his sour disposition since,
I don't like the way things are.
but it's not like there was a rupture in space and he fell into a portal only to reappear like something out of the flick Abstentia. He chose to take a powder and is reaping the consequences. Mayor Hanniger receives what appears to be a heart-shaped box of chocolates.
If there's one thing I like better than Christmas candy, it's Valentine's candy. Have some.
But upon reading the attached note,
From the heart comes a warning filled with bloody good cheer. Remember what happened as the 14th draws near.
realizes his sweet tooth will go unfulfilled as the box contains a dire warning, a freshly excised human heart. Unless they cancel the dance, a bloodbath will ensue. Never let it be said the miner doesn't make his intentions clear. Chief Newby confirms the heart is human and calls the institution where he believes Harry Warden to be confined,
Harry Warden, he was committed under court order approximately 20 years ago.
and is told the administrative office is closed for the night, leaving him at loose ends.
The nurses on duty doesn't know a thing.
It seems a little off that they aren't just aware of the confinement status of such a well-known killer, but then time obliterates memory like rain washes away chalk drawings on a sidewalk. The bar is obviously a place of great intellectual discourse. The conclusion of this physical tete-a-tete includes a slice of opportune timing.
This ain't no fairy tale, little girl. If you don't take it seriously, you're a fool.
Axel is a little bit possessive,
Hey, where you going?
I just want to put on some music, okay?
keeping a close eye on Sarah, but he feels he has good reason, fearful as he is that she will be swayed by TJ's pouting. Sarah puts herself in the crossfire not because she has any interest in being unfaithful to Axel, but because TJ utilizes emotional blackmail to draw her to him like a moth to the flame. She has no idea the fire she's playing with, or how many will get burned because of it.
How many people are dead because of you?
Happy, the sort of irascible bartender I don't think it would be a good idea to spill your embarrassing secrets to because the guy doesn't seem above airing dirty laundry or mockery.
This town is accursed. It started 20 years ago.
Tells the legend of Harry Warden, a miner trapped after a methane explosion 20 years ago during the traditional Valentine's dance.
5 men were buried alive as the town continued its party.
Frankly, we all need to do our part to avoid gas explosions. While they were digging him out, to survive he was forced to resort to cannibalizing the bodies of his fellow miners.
Harry Warden spent the next year in the state mental hospital,
which understandably didn't do wonders for his mental state. Disgruntled that a preventable mishap nearly cost him his life and permanently sullied his very soul,
he killed the 2 supervisors who had left their posts the year before,
and delivered their hearts in chocolate boxes.
That night at the dance, he found the boxes, blood dripping out the sides.
Along with the warning,
never to hold a Valentine's dance ever again.
That was the arrow through the heart of the dance for 2 decades. Happy's utmost seriousness on the matter is a source of derision, but he doesn't give a tin shit, and acts as the film's ignored soothsayer and or crazy kook.
It's got a death curse!
Who knows the 411?
Forget about having a party at all on Saturday night. You may not live to see daylight.
But is discourteously and summarily dismissed out of hand.
It's funnier every time.
In charge of the decorating committee preparing the town for Valentine's Day, Mabel is in her wheelhouse. She's a kindly elderly lady easy to view as a grandmotherly type or a cherished older aunt. Of course, because she's an advocate for the return of Valentine's celebrations, she has to die horribly, and the miner strikes when she's alone and most vulnerable. Amidst her work, she discovers a box of chocolates and is tickled until she reads the note.
Roses are red, violets are blue. One is dead, and so are you?
Cluing her into her peril right before the miner closes in. Talk about cardiac arrest. The boys are having an after-the-bar junkyard snack because why not?
Is that turkey halls? I asked for roast beef. Turkey for the turkey.
And TJ confronts Axel about their problem. Only from Axel's point of view, TJ is the one with the problem because Sarah is taken. Very self-righteously, TJ boasts.
Hey, you want to fight, then you got it. Because you and I both know who Sarah wants.
Leading Axel to exit in a drunken huff. Hollis tells TJ he shouldn't be such a jackass because Axel kinda has a right to his irritation, since what he's up to is a dick move. Contrary to TJ's actions, he professes to regret washing his friendship with Axel down the drain, and claims the situation is nobody's fault. But is he right? Of course that is how he'd want to view it, because if fault were assigned, it would surely be his for believing he could return and easily supplant Axel in Sarah's life. This after so callously leaving her behind when he was gambling on a better life. Maybe it isn't anyone's fault he took life's crapshoot and his role came up snake eyes, but it's also no one else's problem either, since he purposely shut everyone out.
Man, look, you left. You went away and we didn't know where you were or when the hell you were coming back.
He shouldn't be so surprised. Next morning, Chief Newby finally gets in touch with the institution only for them to be like, Harry Warden who? This revelation is a big eye-opener and a bit of a head-scratcher, but shores up the certainty that Harry's back. From there, he tracks down Mabel, only to discover her tumbling in a dryer. I think it's safe to say it wasn't the gentle cycle. There's a heart-shaped note in the hole for...
Wait a minute, what's this?
whence her heart was ferociously extracted.
It happened once. It happened twice. Cancel the dance or it'll happen thrice.
Mayor Hanniger understandably wants to shut it all down lickety-split.
Nay on the Valentine's Day.
Assuming Harry Warden has returned to wreak havoc.
No bueno.
Mabel's death is publicly blamed on a heart attack, which isn't entirely a lie since there was an attack on her heart, a vicious one, and the idea put forward is that going through with the dance would besmirch her memory. Happy knows otherwise.
You hear about Mabel Osborne? She got it just the way I said. Heart attack my ass.
But no one pays him any mind. So with Mabel's goose cooked, the authorities quietly scuttle the Valentine's dance. But the pack of rowdy young people decide the mine offices would suffice as a party locale, and decide to shift their Valentine's activities there. Isn't this just like the quote-unquote grown-ups to keep the truth close to their vests, so that the younger generation doesn't know what they're rebelling against when they decide to wave their heinies at authority and do what they've been explicitly forbidden from doing? Gratuitous heart removal. That film was rated PG? Wow, what a time were the 80s. The epitome of the Nightmare X no one wants sniffing around their significant other, TJ hightails it out of work early to connect with Sarah when it's sure to be just the two of them, and takes her to a private spot insinuated to have significance, if you catch my drift. The whole setup is to pull at her heartstrings and make a hard play for her to return to him.
Look, give me a chance. If you still want me to go away, I will. But I have to tell you that I love you and I want you back.
Using her sympathies as a tool to manipulate her into compliance. He cajoles and pleads, postures and carries on, and pleads some more. He breaks Sarah's resolves, toying with her emotions until she can't handle it. Everyone has a right to their feelings, but TJ's feelings in regard to Sarah don't pass the sniff test. He's a disaster, frustrated and peeved, and he smolders with rage he's not entitled to because he chose to leave. But a big bad case of the heart wants what the heart wants.
I really shouldn't eat chocolate because it can literally kill me.
Oh, I know.
But I love chocolate.
He won't let any of that, or logic, get in the way. The group makes their party plans in front of Happy, and TJ warns him to keep his nose out of it. Of course, the grump takes great offense at their disrespect for Harry Warden, and decides to deliver what he feels will be a ripe good scare.
This on Harry Warren, will they? Well, I'll give them a scare they'll never forget.
The perils of being too amused by one's own prank are at the forefront, when he can't get over how clever is his zinger. And proves so tickled he makes the mistake of going back one time too many, and whammo. The miner makes a joke out of him, and drags him away like a sack of turnips. Valentine's Day is upon them, and the festivities underway. Dave is the first at the bash to become an involuntary organ donor when he goes bobbing for a frankfurter, and the miner springs out of nowhere. This kill is pointed to as not rising to the level of the others, but I think that comes down more to it not being as cinematic as Pickaxe Impalement, because if you think about it, getting your face cooked off while breathing in a lungful of boiling hot dog water would be a truly atrocious way to die. Later on, his heart turns up floating alongside the dogs.
Yeah! What is this?
Oh, wow. One of those idiots really thinks he's funny.
Mentioning dogs, a pack of neighborhood canines lead Chief Newbie to yet another boxed up heart with a note.
You didn't stop the party. Stop the party?
What damn party?
Sending him scrambling. At the party, Axel gets pushy with Sarah.
Oh, come on.
Will you please stop it?
Guess you better back off there, Axel.
Leading to him and TJ knocking heads when he finally makes a pointedly public proclamation.
What do you want to do, huh?
But for fed up Sarah, it's too little too late, and she walks away from their immature shenanigans.
Why don't you both just back off? You're acting like a couple of jerks.
A real kick rocks moment. Hollis is forced to break the two apart.
Shit! You guys, knock it off!
Sarah makes her feelings very clear,
I just don't care anymore.
leaving both in the lurch as punishment for their pedantic behavior. John and Sylvia peel off for a little private time in the minor prep area, demonstrating sound judgment.
You know what we need?
Yeah, I got one right here.
No, I meant a couple of beers.
Oh, I'll go get them.
And the minor provides her with a much less enjoyable penetration than she was expecting. Later, poor John will return to what he thinks is going to be a good time.
All right. Hey, all right. All right.
Show him how it's done, Matthew McConaughey.
All right, all right, all right.
Oh, Christ.
How you doing?
Only to discover her like this. And raise the alarm for those on the surface. Which brings us to where this film gets even weirder as the poorest choice is made. Wanting to cheer up Sarah, an idea is hatched. A group comprised of Sarah, Hollis, Patty, Mike, Harriet, and Howard decides it would be a hoot.
Down to the mine.
The mine?
Yeah, it'll be great. Come on, it's supposed to be like a roller coaster, isn't it?
It's 2,000 feet down.
Or at least a distraction,
It's okay, I'll cheer her up anyway. Come on.
to go down into the mine.
Well,
Come on,
Chicken.
Hey, why don't we go down to the mine?
all right, one quick ride down and then right back up.
With that rousing speech, we march to our deaths.
I don't personally know where anyone would get the idea it would be fun to wander around an active mine, or a sexy place to fool around. I mean, it's not like these people aren't adults and don't presumably have apartments or whatnot where getting it on could commence, but they get it in their heads this would be a good idea. TJ warns them off, but they go anyway. Once down below, Mike and Harriet split from the other four to join the Mile Down Club, while the others explore, leading to one of the best jump scares ever.
Harry Warden.
Because it gets the characters and the audience.
What do you think you're trying to do, you jerk? Easy, I got a hangover.
Above ground, with the group aware murders are afoot, the majority skedaddles. While galvanized into action, frenemies TJ and Axel team up to retrieve the group down below.
I'll take the abandoned section. You take the level above. We'll meet in main shaft by the elevator. Hope to God we get there before Harry does. Good luck.
Tommy Whitcomb, what the hell's the matter with you anyway? Where's your brains? How many times have I told you not to
Listen to me. You have to go to the mine. We were having a party and Harry Warden started killing everybody.
The miner approaches menacingly. TJ meets up with the four and apprises them of the situation. Splitting up, TJ and Hollis bravely go after Mike and Harriet. Hollis discovers quite the tableau. And gets rewarded with a nail gun lobotomy. Somehow managing to return to the others before collapsing and dying in his love's arms. Howard turns coward and abandons the ladies without a second thought.
Howard, you bastard!
Pretty good, but as the horror geek would say, sure how it's done, Linda Day George.
Bastard!
He's dead now, come on!
You can't leave us like this!
See? Hysterical. Sarah unfortunately has to give Patty the pimp hand to motivate her to abandon Hollis's body.
We have to get out of here! No! Stop it!
Axel appears to lead them out and winds up walloping TJ. With the elevator sabotaged, they climb the ladder, Axel in the lead, only for Howard's corpse to suddenly get jostled loose and plummet. Well, he did lose his head. They retreat back down and Axel claims he knows another route, requiring they cross a flooded pit, and out of sight of the others he apparently falls in and disappears into the abyss. TJ tells them he can't be saved, and sends Sarah and Patty one direction while he goes another. You know, 'cause he's still something of a red herring and...
Can't be in two places at once, which, by the way, is how this guy died.
leading to Patty running into the miter's pickaxe. Sarah escapes and reconnects with TJ, who leads her to the mine cars as the miner closes in. They all ride up together. The two men rumbling until they fall off, and the trio spills into a dilapidated tunnel. The miner's mask is displaced. And it's revealed Axel didn't plunge into the pit after all. He's the killer.
What?
It's also revealed his father was one of the superiors murdered by Harry Warden, and he witnessed the whole debacle. So, in a defunct and unsafe section of the mine, the final confrontation plays out, resulting in Axel getting pinned beneath a collapsed support beam. Meanwhile, the cavalry is on its way, racing down into the mine, and arrives right after the collapse. As they dig out Axel, Chief Newby reveals to TJ and Sarah that Harry Warden died 5 years ago, and they tell him Axel is the killer. Almost freed from the rubble, Mad Lad Axel is willing to amputate his own hand. To escape like he's Deadpool or something, and that thing will just grow back.
Am I crazy? Or is your hand really small?
Axel doesn't know when to quit.
I didn't hear no bell.
And flees belligerently.
We're coming back, you bastards!
Into the labyrinthine mine, with one final maniacal declaration ending the film.
Sarah, my bloody Valentine. Daddy, gone away.
Setting up a sequel we never got. Cut to credits and a snappy theme song.
Once upon a time, on a sad Valentine, in a place known as Annie Mine.
Gotta love a horror movie with its own song. So, what's My Bloody Valentine getting at in its reach into your chest and tear out your heart and put it in a doggy bag sort of way? Tom Buckley of the New York Times opined, My Bloody Valentine probably won't make you shiver with fright, but it's almost certain to make you squirm, first with irritation and then with revulsion. Not surprisingly, Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs down, Siskel calling it a dismal and depressing horror film. I concede that as a mad slasher with a knife film, it was automatically at a critical disadvantage, but with its deeper themes and commentary on the oftentimes confusing go-around of love, exceeds your average slasher. Even though the film boils down to a love triangle, I believe, as I said earlier, that much of this rests on father-son dynamics, because everything resulted from the actions of 2 sons, one who is chased off by the expectations of his overbearing father, and the other a man who is incomplete because he lost his father at a young age, and didn't have him through his formative years. Nonconformist TJ represents the maverick, and if not Harry Warden emerges as the next most likely suspect because of his capricious and somewhat dark nature. Throughout he's sour about the situation, often wearing an expression like he's developed taste buds in his butt, and acts like a pissy kid who broke his toy and has been refused a new one. But it was him who determined to eschew his assumed life path, a decision he made all on his own, dashing his powerful father's expectations and breaking his high school sweetheart's heart. He ran off to the West Coast to forge his own way, only to fail and wind up back where he came from, More trapped than ever because now he doesn't even have the fantasy of a better life elsewhere. The possible upside is Sarah, only he hurt her deeply, putting a huge crimp in their relationship, all because he left her at loose ends after what she rightly felt was abandonment, because he did, with little or no explanation, run off and leave her. Why did he do this? Why destroy the most important relationship in his life? To escape his father's expectations in a predetermined life, he shot himself in the foot with Sarah only to screw up because he was never prepared to deal with the world outside Valentine's bluff. Maybe his best intention was to make it big and come back and sweep Sarah off her feet, and take her away like the heartwarming ending of An Officer and a Gentleman.
Way to go, Homer! Way to go! Hey, what'll I tell the boss?
Tell him I'm going to the back seat of my car with a woman I love, and I won't be back for 10 minutes.
Hey, wrong clip. Well, just as well. Or maybe he only wants her back because she's the prettiest girl in town, and now that he's not going anywhere, she's the best option. But I don't think so. I think he loved her and maybe had it in his head she would wait for him. Which is why when she explains,
I love you, I want you back.
How was I supposed to know that, Jesse? I honestly didn't think you were ever coming back.
what she's really saying is that without some confirmation from him, she didn't have the luxury of waiting around. Either way, his problems seemed to boil down to an overbearing father who expected him to follow a template, only for TJ to instead defiantly bail because the expectations were too stifling, and he fancied himself too special to knuckle under to predestination, only to learn his somewhat pampered upbringing, as the son of a successful mine owner and local politician, was luckier than he realized, because the real world is a hard, unforgiving place. With that knowledge, he's maybe reconciled to his life, only he's left in the lurch and unfulfilled because Sarah is with Axel. He has no problem stealing her back, but showing she has some integrity, it's not so easy for her. Why does rogue Axel hate Valentine's Day? Why did he go on a killing spree? Is it because of his dad's murder by Harry Warden? That certainly works as a surface reason, and a convenient, understandable, non-emasculating reason besides. In my opinion, Axel's entire motive springs from his insecurity over the possibility of losing Sarah, and eventually his sonority in the mine. Even though TJ is the precipitator, Axel is perturbed by Sarah's inability to commit fully to him, which is why I think he targeted the blonde hottie in the beginning. He was using a surrogate to exercise his anger towards her wishy-washiness and perceived disloyalty. Following TJ's return, I'm guessing Axel had a tipping point. I postulate Sarah said something along the lines of, "I'm still mad at TJ, but I feel bad he's going through such a rough patch." Which would mean, reading between the lines for a man as fragile as Axel, she is still interested enough in him to go back. In TJ's absence, Axel excelled, rising up the ranks in the mine and snagging Sarah. I'm guessing TJ returning like a dog with his tail between his legs, defeated but quick to be accepted back into the fold, was a set-off in and of itself, because Axel had to recognize no matter what there would be friction between his old friend and his new girlfriend, and perhaps to Sarah a source of sympathy because he obviously blew his shot in the real world. It probably infuriated Axel that TJ's insubordination would cost him little in the end, because TJ's punishment is only the life he was attempting to flee. Sure, it will take longer to get to the top, and with many small humiliations due to others such as Axel advancing quicker, but in the end, more than likely when his dad kicks off, he's propelled to the top. Axel rightfully feared there was no way he would prevail in the end, not in love, not in the company. To eliminate a nemesis who would always wind up a step ahead, he almost certainly began killing as a pretext to take out TJ, since their rivalry would otherwise make him the prime suspect were the man to be killed on his own. Maybe after slaughtering him even frame the prodigal son for the murder spree. To clarify not so delicately, Axel kills because he suffers from an inferiority complex. He feels like there's something lacking, like there's a component missing in his makeup, and he's right. Growing up without a father, Axel was denied the chance to learn many aspects of manhood from a paternal figure. I feel like he never had a strong male role model in his childhood, reflected in his character, or lack thereof, since his idea of a man seems more influenced by the vengeful killer who took his father from him than any semblance of a good or decent man. Without his father or a surrogate, he was denied many lessons, and grew up feeling incomplete, which could be the reason why he believes so ardently he will lose the love competition with TJ, because his rival had the luxury of a strong patriarch. He doesn't know how to keep a woman, so he goes to drastic measures. Killing makes him feel powerful and in control. What he's doing is isolating Sarah, removing her support network one unit at a time, in hopes of emerging as the only one left, the ghost of Harry Warden or some other unnamed individual taking the blame for the murder spree. Then he's the hero and there's no competition for Sarah's attention. Watertight logic to be sure, at least to a crazy man. Axel feels like the second pick because he unfortunately is, but that's only true when TJ is around. Had things between TJ and Sarah ended cleanly, this wouldn't be a problem, but because there was no real closure, they are stuck in an uncomfortable open-ended emotional limbo. No matter how their entanglement ended, it's painfully obvious there's a palpable tension and passion between them, and Axel feels out of his depth trying to deal with Sarah on an emotional level, so is incapable of competing with a man who wears his emotions on his sleeve and makes his desires known. Axel, rightfully or not, was paranoid he would lose out to his love rival if a bunch of love-themed celebrations were underway. Thus, Axel's apparent aversion to Valentine's Day is likely more rooted in jealousy than any connection to Harry Warden's murder of his father. Harry himself makes a convenient scapegoat for the current killings and little more. Harry acts as an opportune cover for his nefarious activities. I think it's more likely that being surrounded by the glitter, vibes, and language of romance, Axel's paranoia was augmented, and the fear the old love between TJ and Sarah would be more readily rekindled began to overwhelm him. And using Harry's threat was the easiest path to getting his way, short of making a solid commitment. I mean, it isn't like Axel put a ring on it, so how deep is his dedication? If they were engaged, Sarah would be thinking ahead to a wedding, not considering getting back with her ex. Stuck in rumination mode, fence-sitter Sarah is torn and confused, cursed with indecision, likely wishing her current boyfriend would act strong instead of insecure, because it only makes her doubt him as her choice. The film never decides how she would have chosen, being as how when TJ declared she was returning to him, she split, unable to take the tug-of-war, saying she didn't care anymore, and the matter is only decided because one of her pursuers proves to be the killer. This wishy-washy aspect of her character isn't her fault, because it is another of those sad, hard aspects of falling in love, a matter of the paradoxical nature of the heart, and how it can be divided. TJ represents a lot of pain, but also what was likely her first love, the first person with whom she engaged in carnal endeavors, and a lot of other firsts too. His sudden departure from her life left a gaping hole she likely filled with a lot of ice cream and girls' nights. Getting with Axel doesn't seem like a decision she made lightly. He wasn't a rebound. So she was true to him before TJ returned and shook up the apple cart. In the end, TJ did to her metaphorically what Axel did to his victims literally, but that was only possible because she cared about him so much. So is it any wonder she was so divided and unable to commit either way? Impacted deeply by the bombardment of emotions from the men in her life, she's despairing because she's stuck in a small town, between the proverbial rock and a hard place. She has chemistry with both men, but a longer history with TJ, and the sunk cost fallacy may play a role in her indecisiveness, because though she isn't obligated to take him back, feelings don't have an expiration point. They can persist even if someone is angry and logically knows they should move on. Did TJ win out? Did Sarah eventually take him back? In the long run, probably, though I wouldn't be surprised if she needed time and made him work for it. But then maybe his actions in the mine proved effectively redemptive enough she was able to move on sooner. I suppose that's left up to our imaginations. In final analysis, Valentine's Bluff is a town with a dark past but hope of a brighter future one resident refuses to allow, by going on a murder spree that amounts to a lovelorn temper tantrum. But then, aren't most slashers kind of having a temper tantrum? TJ striking out in the world only to fail created a situation in which Axel's burgeoning relationship with Sarah was challenged, setting him off and forcing him to eliminate all competition for her attention. Were his fears warranted, thus his psychopathic response, though crazy, at least justified from the standpoint of quashing the rivalry? Since he lost, no. But had he won, also no. He wasn't emotionally equipped for a mature relationship.
You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half.
And it's clear to me he would have sabotaged it eventually anyway. This film might also have something to say about workplace negligence and the need for adherence to protocol. Mining a particularly dangerous and difficult job, rules and regulations exist to save lives. One mistake leads to tragedy in a pair of retaliatory murders. It also leads to a deep contamination. In this case, it isn't a poorly contained chemical leaching into the dirt threatening groundwater contamination, but a pollution of Valentine's bluff zeitgeist and very psyche. No matter how many hearts it tore out. They canceled the traditional dance for 20 years despite believing Harry Warden safely locked away, which he remained until his death, meaning his threat wasn't potent. They didn't have to follow his orders, yet his actions were so traumatizing it took 2 decades to move on. More likely, the mine explosion was only meant to be the prerequisite crime in the past, and not a wider-reaching commentary on such. But whether intended or not, bears out as an important message nonetheless. Is My Bloody Valentine worth a watch? For fans of slashers, it's necessary viewing, but I suppose it depends on your tolerance for the subgenre. I consider it a classic. If for nothing else, it shows the perils that can accompany romantic entanglements, and the ripple effect of bad decisions. Super duper, well, I think I've reached the end of the rope, so I won't leave you dangling. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening to my ramblings. Please share any refutations, opinions, accusations, japes, or other ideas in the comments below. And please join me next time, when I go ankle deep in the swamp to jib-jab about another weird diversion. Toby Hooper's trip into the lurid quagmire of a disturbed hotel proprietor's porous and addled mind. Did I mention he has a pet crocodile? The aptly titled, Eaten Alive. And just remember...
It's a bad time, this time of year. There's bad things coming. My words you hear.
Bye now.